everyone. Hi, Robin.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi. It's been a while since we've been able to do a YouTube. We've been busy with other things, so we apologize that we haven't been on in a while. But we just wanted to do this one today. We had some really good questions, some of them that were provided by Robin's son, and we thought that the answers and what Athena has to say would be important to other people as well. So let's kick it off with the first question, which
Heidi,
is a
can I
deep.
just interject that, Heidi, can we just make a mention that I'm having a few internet problems here today?
Oh,
So I have
yes.
tethered my computer to the phone. So there might be a little lag time. I'm noticing a little bit, Heidi, when you talk, that there's a little bit maybe of a delay, and it's probably
Sure.
my fault because of the internet. So just if you can bear with that a little bit, there is a little bit of a glitch here today.
Yes, and I am noticing that a little bit on your screen, but it should hopefully be okay. You're sounding clear, so hopefully it will be
Okay,
good.
good.
All right. So first question, could you discuss acceptance versus transmutation versus surrender? Meaning, could you give us the difference between them?
Hmm. Well, we want you to know that when you have a feeling, the divine part of you or the very advanced or expanded version of you receives what it is that you are emitting in the form of an emotion. And that tone is very specific, and it is able to identify what you want by what you are feeling, whether it is positive or negative. And so that's a transmutation of energy, isn't it? When the universe gets something, it immediately lifts it to the opposite, perhaps if it is something negative, to a very satisfying feeling. It's a feeling that you want to get. Some people think it's a car or a house or a spouse,
Yeah.
but it isn't. It's a feeling that you're calling for in those things that you want to experience. And so the universe feels you in the feeling of not having something, let's say if it's negative, and it knows what to supply you with that will bring you satisfaction, or a feeling that is opposite what you are feeling that would feel very good to you. And so that's why we always say sometimes what is going to come through manifestation, it might be quite different than what you as a human are hanging on to as the thing that will make you feel that way, because the universe actually has much more data and understanding of what would satisfy you than you yourself hold in your present moment, because it has all of you from your past life, your lineage, and all that you have lived in the life that you're in. So when it is satisfying you, it often will send something that you will be satisfied in the way that you will feel, but it might be quite different than what you yourself had imagined that it would be. So that's a transmutation of energy. And so the next question, Heidi, he is asking, give it to us in parts. What is the next?
Yeah, so he wanted you to discuss acceptance versus transmutation versus surrender, the differences
So,
between them.
okay. And so acceptance is, I feel something I don't like. I recognize it as such, and I accept that the divine part of me has received that energy from me and is actually transmuting it, making something for me out of it that will be very satisfying to me. And so this acceptance phase of this process requires trust. It requires your ability to really perceive yourself in the divine aspect of yourself and rely and trust on that connection, that you actually can let go of what you are feeling in the knowing that what you want is coming. So that would be the next phase. And then the final thing that he is asking about is surrender. And surrender is, I don't wonder why or how I created something. I know that whatever it is that is coming to me is something that I need for my own growth, my own expansion, and my own journey that I'm on. And so I surrender to the feeling. I do not wish that it was different than it was. I do not feel victimized by it. I do not condemn what it is that I am experiencing. I simply resolve myself to surrendering, bring it on. Yeah, whatever it is that I'm getting, I know that it is necessary for me to experience in order for me to expand in my consciousness and to achieve the way that I want to feel in my experience. And so you move to this very not questioning, this very waving the white flag and giving up to all that life offers you, and then responding to it in the most positive direction that you can.
All right, awesome. That was a good answer to all of those. So, what do you do when an energy comes up that you're confronted with that's difficult, and you have to respond to that energy in a timely manner? You don't want to react and maybe spout off, but you feel like you don't have forever to make the response. So, what should you do when you think you're ready to respond and you feel calm, and then all of a sudden, in the midst of that, you're triggered? How would you handle that situation?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be difficult to get a reliable or a good response, let's use that, if you are stimulated, because you are basically unconscious and you're going to be moving from an injury or a wound that you have within you. And therefore, you're not going to be able to really balance or weigh out what the other person is trying to commit to you or get to you in the way that they are communicating with you. And so it is always good to take a pause. And we are hearing that you're saying there's no time for a pause. Well, there's at least a couple of minutes or a second that one
Sure.
can pause and then ask themselves. You're asking the divine part of yourself to assist you in waking up or becoming aware or conscious of what it is that is going on, and to assist you in making the best possible response you can. You can also say, I am stimulated, or this is for some reason gotten me activated or upset, and I don't think it is a good time for me to respond when I'm feeling this way. And I'm sure what you are offering requires my focus and my attention to it, and I will get back to you. Yeah. So there are other ways that you can handle it, but going off in a stimulated way of being is not going to yield you the result that you're going to be happy with.
Thank you. All right, so let's discuss when someone is in a situation, whether it's a place, a person, an activity that feels negative to the person. What is this telling or showing them about themselves?
So you are saying perhaps they have attended something, whether it be a party, or is this what you are referring to? That you
So
get
it
somewhere
could
and then you
be,
decide that it is an unpleasant place?
yeah, well, it could be like a person. You get around the person and that person annoys you or irritates you and you feel like a negative experience, or the place or an activity. Just when you're in a negative space in those types of situations, what is that telling you about yourself?
Yeah, there's always an underlying emotion, an entrapment that's been stimulated in you by the one that is in front of you or the event that you were talking about. So you are to take a moment and slide the person or the event out of the way for a moment, and then really hone in on the emotional state or the feeling that you're having. It's not just the feeling of not wanting to be someplace. There's going to be something underneath it. Maybe the person is a bragger, or maybe the person is uh, not that friendly or cool towards you. And so then it activates something in the heart center, perhaps that you have held, that makes you feel as though you're not special, you're not cared about. Someone is not regarding you in the way that you want to. So it could bring up something within you that is stored there that is actually activated by the presence of that person. And this can also happen at events. You can be at an event, something in that event might cause you to be uncomfortable, might cause you to feel unsafe. It might cause you to feel as though those that are at the event that you're interacting with are perhaps not of your choosing, or it's not where you want to be. And so once again, it is to identify the emotional state that was within you, and then you can move to what it is that is bringing up the feeling. But you do have a right as a human to select for yourself those people and those things that you love to be around. And you can also just look at what you're feeling and decide that there is a preference. I would like to feel this way when I'm with someone rather than this way. I would rather be somewhere else than where I am right now. And then identify that place, and then identify that feeling, and then move into mastery by actually choosing that. And we know that sometimes you're stuck somewhere. That might be the case. And then the best thing that you can do is try to uncover the entrapment and try to soothe yourself as much as you can in the legitimacy of how you feel. You don't want to deny what is felt. You want to legitimize what is felt so that the human knows that you have received its communication in how it feels in its experience. And so these are things that you can do, and you would have to weigh out the possibility whether you can stay there and make yourself comfortable, or whether you can decide to make a decision to leave and then feel aligned to that, you see.
Right. Okay. All right. And so kind of on the flip side of that, sometimes we just get ourselves in a place or with a person that makes us feel really connected. And it might be a new place or a new person. And we just feel like very comfortable and very at home. And like I said, it could be somebody we barely know. What is that telling us, or what is that
Yeah.
showing us?
Someone that you've had a past affiliation with, someone that you have been on an experience with in another lifetime, perhaps. When you get that comfortable, knowing, aligned feeling, and Robin has experienced that in her life with a number of friends that have remained friends of hers for her entire lifetime. There was a recognition very early on in the meeting that this was someone that was going to remain, and this was someone that was known to her. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Okay. All
Can
right.
we go back to question number one for a moment?
Sure.
Yeah, we just want to address a little bit more because we've had some discussions with this one before about awakening. And there is still a certain amount of governing that a human moves to in the desire, let's use that, to expand themselves in their consciousness. And it's kind of a double-edged sword, if you will. There is this observation stage, but it is almost impossible for a human to continue to observe themselves and not emote over what they are observing or have an opinion or a feeling about the way they're moving in their experience. And so what happens is that opinion and that judgment and that in that observation, it actually slows down the awakening process. It actually causes more resistance within them in their desire to move fast, in their desire to get rid of things that they do not like. This awakening process is one that is natural. It's one that is different for every human. Your karmic load, things that you have experienced in this life and other lives are coming into play. And so the best way that you can move into enlightenment or expansion of your consciousness is through surrender and is through not timing it or comparing it to anyone else. Because as you do this, you slow down your process, you see. The best thing that you can do in wanting to expand your consciousness and to become an enlightened being, as you would put it. And what is that? I allow more light into myself. That's what an enlightened being is. And so the best way that you can do this when you surrender to, I don't care how long it takes. I don't care what experiences I have to have. I can love myself in all ways, in all things, as I view myself in my experience. This is the thing that's going to drop the resistance and very quickly connect you to that higher aspect of yourself, which is love. And then in your love of self, and it's what we're teaching when we tell you to love yourself in every stinky feeling that you have, this is what we're trying to say. But we think that one of the most important things that we have omitted from that process is to have you surrender to the amount of time that it takes. If everyone is keeping track and everyone is looking at everyone else and everyone thinks that they have to do it within a certain amount of time, and everyone that we meet with is in a rush. And that rush alone, what does the universe do? What does it do to you, Heidi, when you're in a rush in traffic? You hit the stoplights, don't you? You have to wait longer, don't you? You get a flat tire, don't you? Yeah. Well, the universe is no different than that. So our advice to all of you on your spiritual journey would be to slow down and quit rushing and quit comparing and quit worrying about where you're at and what you need to get rid of and what you need to fix, and just live your lives and gently observe them and love yourself in what you observe and watch how quickly it goes.
Yeah. Well, I think that a little bit of that comes from the fact that we all feel like we need to arrive somewhere. And when you see somebody that is spiritually connected or is moving in a direction that we feel is above where we are, we think, oh, we're not good enough. And I think that comes from the fact that we're judging that maybe, like, I guess we'd use the analogy, the doctor is more important than the garbage man, or the spiritual
Yeah,
person is more
because
important than the,
uh, well, even the definition of a spiritual person is askew, you see. You
yeah,
are a spiritual being projected consciousness into a
yeah,
vehicle. So you're as spiritual as anyone else, aren't you? And so
right.
as you make those comparisons and as you have these false perceptions, that's what they are, you actually imprison yourself by them. You actually make that true for you, that you are not enough, that you are somehow needing more, that there is something being denied access to you. And when you just give all that up and you have no parameter around what a spiritual being is, because it is consciousness, that's what spirituality is. And so
Yeah,
you are conscious, you are aware of yourself, and that is as spiritual as it gets. Yeah.
yeah. All right, so let's talk about what you just mentioned, which is projecting ourselves into these bodies. So there's a lot of spiritual teachers that discuss that concept of we're not actually here. We're projecting ourselves onto this plane, into this body. We're doing it in multiple timelines in multiple
Yep.
places. Can you elaborate on that? What we are actually doing? Are we actually just projecting?
Yes, you are a projection of consciousness. Everyone is.
Um,
And you have the emotions that you have to feel your experience. If you cut off all of your sensory abilities, um, you wouldn't have a whole lot to report, would you?
Yeah,
So that is what brings you into the reality that you believe. And it's why everyone's reality is different, because the way that everyone feels is different, isn't it? The way that
yeah.
they are, they're coming into their experience. They're coming in not just empty. They're coming in with a lot of things that are traveling with them from other lives that they've lived. So the way that everyone's perceiving their experience is a little bit different based on what they have experienced prior to the life that they're in. And so and the way that you feel emotionally is different, because all of you have different entrapments or things that have been hung on to that violated you or hurt you in some way. And those heighten your awareness of your senses. Those are things that actually magnify the way that you feel. And you can tell when a person is full of emotion, it's a magnification, isn't it? It's an expanded version of one that isn't activated. Let's use that term. And so as the person is in suffering, their reality becomes more real. It's more painful because the reaction is bigger or harder to ignore because of the sensory beings that you are, you see.
Okay. So just, is there any
Did
way
you
to
further
give,
on that?
and I know it's, what's that? Oh, is there any way to give like
Did
a,
you need something further?
yeah, so there you had a little glitch on your screen, so sorry if I didn't hear you, but is there any
That's
way
okay.
to give listeners a sense of, so the one thing decides that it wants to experience itself and it is projecting into these forms. Um,
Yep.
how is that decided upon, or how does that originally start to occur?
Mhm. Well, we would tell you that how do you evolve? Look at yourself from the time that you were an infant to where you sit right now. You evolve through your experiences, don't you?
Yeah,
And so, as the wholeness or the one thing or what you call God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, that you're comfortable with, as
yeah,
it experiences itself and it starts to gain a new perspective or more wisdom and more knowledge through the experience, this actually expands and then kicks out new aspects or new pieces of itself that are wanting to experience and know more, you see. And so
okay.
it's no different than you. Would you be the same? Would you be happy being the same as you were when you were 5, as where you were when you were 15, for example? And what happened in between was some experiences that caused a lot of different feelings and emotions and brought up a lot of questions that were answered. And so you continued to grow, didn't you? You continued to expand. And although you look at the whole as being different than you, the projection of you is in each way is an individualistic way or a different way than what you originally started out with. Do you understand what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
It's kind of complicated to
Yeah.
explain, but
Yeah.
you as a whole are expanding, and then you are leaving this existence, and perhaps you are in others at the same time, or even in other forms, trees, rocks,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Pieces of consciousness can actually be projected in all things. And so
Yeah.
you are experiencing your individual universe or yourself the same way. You're going out
Yep.
again, aren't you're entering into different things, and you're expanding yourself out from the direction of where you began. And we would say, if you look at the whole or the one thing as the same as you in some respect, you're looking at it as all these individual people are coming out of this thing. That's how you're looking at it. But it's really the thing as a whole. Don't individualistic, because a human always moves to separation, and it doesn't really do you any service when you're trying to understand creation. Because then we would say, okay, let's separate you in every life that you've ever lived. Let's separate you in every feeling that you've ever had. And you would say, well, no, those are all mine. And the universe says, but no, those are all mine. Do you understand what we are trying to communicate?
I do. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you.
probably the best example that we can give to you.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So let's close out with I wanted to ask this sooner in the year, but we didn't get to do a YouTube until now. So what do you see that is emerging for the year 2024? I know that you don't like to give predictions. I know it's always subject to change in the moment,
Yeah.
but is there any things that have high probabilities that you could share with listeners of occurring in this year or even the next year?
Yeah, well, we're really glad that you brought up predictions because we do have our perception or what we would like to offer in regard to predictions. Yeah. And
Okay.
so every channeler, can you hear us? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
what are we really predicting? We're predicting from a place or point of what others are thinking and feeling in the environment, but we don't have access to the entire universe. We have access to the level of consciousness which is attracted to us or following us. Let's use that, or resonating the tone, the same tone that we are. And so many those that are doing predictions, they would have a level of resonance. And through that level of resonance, they would be able to read the predominatory thoughts or feelings that are available to them, and that they could draw a conclusion from that. Or so, for example, someone who might predict that maybe the race, yeah, the presidential race, that there's going to be a great upheaval, and that Democrat are against Republican, and that we have all these things to worry about, yeah. And so they may have access to a consciousness group where, in fact, those people exist. Perhaps they have some opinions about the election or the race, or they have a preference, a very strong preference towards one or the other. And then these would be the ones that they would have access to through the level of consciousness they're channeling. Yeah. And so what we are hoping and feeling that we are attracting are those that are focused on outcome. And so we tell humans when they get a projection or a future projection from someone, that it's not so much about the projection that they got. What they should be interested in is how they feel as they are witnessing it or listening to it. And if you move into a fearful state, you start to get afraid, if you start to think you have to hoard things and protect yourself and be careful, then this is a sign or signal that you yourself are not in alignment with a peaceful and wonderful outcome. And you feel as though that you have no chance at it, that something else is creating other than you, that it is out of your control, and that more people have decided to go that way. But your vital individual focus is so important during these times that you call difficult, that you use the difficulty as a leverage point as what you want to feel in the world, and that you know the value of your focus, and that you direct your focus where you want it to be. And so we feel at the level of consciousness that we are transmitting from, that we are reading the level of consciousness of those who are focusing on love, of those that are focusing on peaceful outcomes, of those that want the planet to be safe, of those that are looking forward to a better leadership coming. And this is where we apply our focus. And it is also what we predict in our future, because it is what we are connected to, it is what we are aligned to, and it is what we are flowing to.
Well, that's pretty good stuff. I like that. All right. Well, thank you, Athena.
Everyone has Heidi, everyone has a choice to
Yeah.
make. Everybody has this vital focus, and they squander it as though it is not worth anything. And your focus has created your entire world around you. And you can do the same in the world that you live in. And others can see you in your positivity, in your hopefulness, in your love of what it is that you want to see. And you can affect the masses that way. They will gravitate towards you, because it is the same when we go in a session with people and they are feeling a lot of negativity, and we teach them to love themselves even in their negativity, because when the human feels love directed toward it, it immediately drops the lower vibration of the emotion that it was hanging on to, and it comes into alignment with its source. So as you hear these things that do not come from love, that are fearful, it is creating fear, or something that is upsetting to you, then you are to move to that same way of being, that you love yourself in your fear, you notice that it is making you fearful, and then you decide to apply that focus in the direction that you want it, knowing that the creator that you are, that you have a huge influence over what comes to you in your future.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Athena. And just to let our listeners know, we have a live channeling Q&A, which is awesome. You are able to submit your questions. You can appear live if you want to. You don't have to. You can send the question to me and I can read it. We do those monthly, and then we also send out twice weekly transmissions. So if you're interested in becoming a member of our live Q&A, you can find that information on the website at athenaintruth.com. And also, Athena is doing group Kundalini activations and mentorship now. We are doing those monthly. We have one coming up in March that is probably 3/4 of the way full already, because we only do 20 people at a time. So if this is something that interests you, you can also find that information on our website. I wouldn't wait, because we only have, probably 5, 6 maybe spots open remaining. And then we will do another session in April. We'll release that date pretty soon when we know the next date that's coming up. Also, I know we've been talking about it for a while, but we do have another course that's kind of like a blend course, where we do have some written content that would be downloadable and for participants to use at home. But in addition to that, we're going to have like a one time live participation with Athena on that coursework as well. So it's kind of like a blend course. And Robin and I just need to get together on that and get that wrapped up, and that should be available soon as well. So thank you everyone for listening, and we hope to get back on YouTube sooner than later again. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.